along with TJ Zwarich. You want to get all technical? Oh, we just got another player rolled in. Okay. All the news is dropping. Of course, if you guys are not aware, talking some NBA DFS, taking y'all straight up to lock. Lock is 8 o'clock tonight, kind of a small slate, just a 4-gamer. Crunch Time crew comes in around 7:30. We'll touch on it a little bit later, but if you guys want to, there's a football going down tonight. There's a showdown slate. TJ he's well-researched for football, for basketball. He's versatile. We'll talk about that later on in the show. If you have any football questions in the chat, by all means, fire them off. And then I believe the Crunch Time crew will also touch on the showdown slate. Not certain to what degree, but we got you prepared for both football locks, I think 15 or 20 minutes after the basketball. TJ, we just got news that Bam Adebayo is officially out now for the Miami Heat. Kind of saw that one. It was pretty telegraphed. I don't know why it took him so long to figure it out, but back-to-back. Lowry's resting. We already know that. Oladipo's going to rest too because he's old, basketball old. And for Houston on the other side, Jabari Smith is available. He had an illness, wasn't feeling well, was questionable, just upgraded to in. Yeah, man, it's a 4-gamer, but I don't know about yourself, but this feels bigger than 4 games as far as a slate tonight because there's just so many body parts we're monitoring. A lot of the information we have, theoretically, then there might be some more stuff coming. I guess some more Clippers stuff, right? But yeah, how are you? How are you feeling about tonight's 4-gamer? Because it's just a lot. There's a lot of good value in this slate. It feels very Star Scrubsy.
You brought up how you are the best at the biz and killing time. I think that's the longest I've ever gone without speaking after an intro. I'm doing well. Nice to see you. I'm excited to break down this dual NBA NFL slate with you. The BAM news, I think, kind of confirms that Miami is kind of our top focus today as opposed to the Clippers, even though they're both super interesting today. Even though it's only 4 games, we kind of have a lot to talk about. It's a bit of a fun one today.
Yeah. They're talking about in the chat. What's up, chat? Hopefully you all weren't thrown off. You can figure out at this point what time we're going live, or if you have notifications on, you know exactly when we're going live. Obviously, coming on a little bit later because it's a shorter slate and because 8 o'clock as far as the tip-off tonight. They're talking about holy center value plays. Yeah, I mean, no DeAndre Ayton. Zubac is questionable, and he's in a late game. My guess is Zubac wouldn't play on the back half of a back-to-back. He got hurt last night, and he didn't start the second half. I believe it was Batum that started the second half for them. Of course, they've already ruled out Kawhi, who's just impervious to playing back-to-backs anymore the rest of his life. And PG-13, Paul George, surprise scratch. And then Arjax was scratched. So, man, I love basketball. I mean, look, in 82 games, it's nonsense, right? Like, regular season doesn't mean anything, but this is getting kind of ridiculous. Like, and then people say if it's like a 70-game season, it'll just shorten the season. Teams would still do this in most 70 games. Like, what's the difference? They'd still do it.
It has less to do with the amount of games and more just how close together they are. Like, people realize that playing a lot of basketball right after you just played 40 minutes, it takes a toll on the body because the body's still recovering from the day before. And when you throw it back out there again, it hasn't completed its recovery process. And so it kind of adds up as to why they'd want to do this. I think the solution would be spacing out as opposed to shortening, which obviously you would probably kind of have to shorten as well, just because you need your off season and
but money and contracts and TV contracts and
exactly.
Nobody wants to give up any money,
so therefore this is just going to be kind of the reality that we're going to live with. And so not just center value galore, but just value galore. It makes it kind of tough to know where we do have the spend ups today, but it's tough to kind of prioritize where you want to spend up in tournaments outside of just the glaringly obvious Giannis Antetokounmpo today, and then our Heat spend ups. So we got a fun one, but you called Oladipo old. He's only 11 months older than me, so now I'm feeling old.
He's basketball. He's got.
I guess I'm basketball old. I'm looking at ever since I got COVID for the first time 2 years ago. I'm just looking at as opposed to I was on the team, and I mean it's Canada and there's only 300,000 people who live in my city, but we were on the A league, the top league, and we won the championship. And I'm kind of looking I couldn't do that this year, not just because I'm on some NFL crunch time shows and the games are Sunday mornings, but also just because is just, I think, a little too fast right now. The lungs aren't ready for it after that first bout with COVID a couple years ago. It just kind of stuck.
You're no longer basketball relevant. I got bad news for you. You're just
I'm basketball old. I'm 29. I'm basketball old.
But like, if you go to like the RG game, if there's an RG game and if there's an
I'm young.
You got young legs. You're playing 40 minutes.
Yeah, me and Dre are taking everybody down in that one. We're ready. We've been game planning.
I don't know how old Dre is. He's probably 30.
I think he's a couple years older than me. I don't think much. I think he's like low 30s.
Yeah, and like Roth will talk some smack, but I don't know how long he can last out there. And he's Roth's mid-30s, I think. Yeah, we've had several RG basketball games over the years. I don't think they ever the mixtape was not exactly it didn't live up to the hype, I would say. There's a nice way of saying it. I don't know if you saw, there was a RotoGrinders party the other day, the home office in Nashville. They were doing some you probably are good with this. I'm going to stereotype, but curling. They went curling in Nashville. Apparently there's a curling venue available, and Dan Bach ate it. I just saw the picture of him on the ground. And have you ever gone curling before? Are you living up the Canadian stereotype or no?
I'm probably one of the very few people that I know that have never actually curled before.
Yeah.
Like, I've done lots of like ice related things, but I genuinely don't think I've ever actually curled on a curling rink before.
Yeah, I remember many, many years ago I was going to go. There was one in Miami that we were going to go as like a goof, and somehow plans just sort of fell through. And I've never been, but I'm curious. It seems like it's probably more athletic than you think it is. It's sneaky athletic as far as the effort and the sweeping. I don't know if I'd be a sweeper, if I'd be a tosser. I don't know what's the pitcher, bowler. I think it's bowler. Is that the official?
Well, you gotta do all of them. They rotate through the positions. There's 4 people, right? And then only one person's throwing at a time, and the other ones are sweeping. They switch off.
Oh, there's no specialist. You got to do everything.
Yeah, it's like how it works is you have a lead, a second, a third, and a skip. And so it's like someone always goes first, someone always goes last, and like that depends on how you rotate and when you're calling on how hard to sweep, stuff like that.
All right. The skip is like, that's you got to be whoever gets that label.
That's like team captain.
Choose wisely. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm organizing by point per dollar on this slate. And what's wild is there's a ton of good value plays in this slate, right? John Wall, we're going to be talking about. Everybody's out for the Clippers. We're even Arjax, and he's basically the last man standing. Morris as well too, who's kind of a vengeful guy, so he's pretty interesting too. Nikola Jovic just jumped into the best value play. I'm guessing he's starting just 25 minutes. Now there's no guarantee he closes. We've seen several times where they've been without not just Bam but Deadman too. And Jovic is like their starts at the 5 but doesn't close the 5. And also I think this really helps out Şengün on the other side. I think Şengün is going to kind of smash versus Miami's front line, which is kind of sort of non-existent. But there's a person allegedly playing for Miami tonight named Orlando Robinson, which is that's a made up. Is that a real guy? Have you heard of Orlando Robinson?
Yeah. I think I played him before.
What could you give me on Orlando Robinson?
I think I played him on that game that he played 32 minutes and had 27 fantasy points, if I'm being honest with you.
I don't forget about this guy.
And so, because he'd have been in this position before, and I think it was on that day that I played him. And so I think he makes a somewhat interesting pivot if you're running a lot of lineups today. If he creeps into the starting lineup, I think he's very interesting. But even if not, I think if you're running a lot of lineups, he makes for an interesting play. But the wild thing that we still have to keep an eye on, luckily this game is like the first game to lock alongside that Milwaukee Memphis. But Caleb Martin and Nikola Jovic are still questionable.
Yeah. I've been a Miami Heat fan literally since the inception of the Miami Heat, since the days of Kevin Edwards and Rory Sparrow and Bimbo Coles. That's a real person. Google him. He's probably, I can keep going if you want more. Alec Kessler, Alan Ogg. Let's see. Do I have anybody else on layaway? Did I mention Kevin Edwards? But I am starting to hate this team because they're just so annoying. What are they doing with this nonsense? I think they had 12 guys on the injury report. They just really, really make DFS torturous. I don't know if that's the right word, but less fun. Let's go with that. And why are we getting this information out in pieces? Like, this is the fourth time we've gotten a different iteration of something from Miami. And I think we kind of sort of know last night, like Bam was talking about being a little bit sore. They even hinted at like guys resting. But why do we still not know about Caleb Martin? And why do we still not know about Nikola Jovic? Like, this is nonsense. I think they called Jovic up from the G League. Like, he was playing in the G League. So why?
They don't care about us, Dean.
But like,
they
why
don't
call
give
a guy
a damn.
healthy? Either if you bring him in the game and he's got a bum back, I don't understand. But like, I'm pretty sure he was called up from the G League as well as Orlando. Any event,
I view it this way: Coach Spo's sitting there. Trainer tells him, yeah, Bam's for sure going to be out today. Okay, yeah, just get Nikola up here. And so the assistant coach calls up Nikola Jovic. They didn't watch the G League game, didn't realize he was hurt. And so he gets called up, and then he gets there, and he's like, yeah, damn, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go. I'm pretty sore too. And so they're probably going to play him after he warms up and is like, yeah, I'm good to go. But then if he's not, then he
wants an opportunity. He's not going to say no. He's yeah, I'm good. Like, you only get so many opportunities in the NBA. This is an opportunity to shine in a good matchup against Houston. Like, why would he not want to go? I'm
not Nikola Jovic. I don't know. Maybe he's actually hurt.
Then why call him up? Why send him?
Because they didn't know. Because they didn't watch. I just gave you the whole breakdown of what might have happened.
Who's involved in these things? Like, that's their job.
Yeah, well, they screwed up. Maybe they should hire you as the team secretary.
I don't want to be a secretary for this team. It's too much of a headache. They are the first.
We need to hire you a secretary to get the likes up on YouTube, because we already almost got 150 people watching. Only 17 likes. If we get 50 likes in the next 15 minutes here before 6 o'clock, Dean will grab a broom and do his best curling sweep impression.
I cannot confirm or deny that I'll be doing that. That's less likely than possible.
I think you'll be doing it.
Yeah, I just wanted to give an overview as far as the slate and just kind of like get your take, because do you agree that, the stars, the studs are clearly there. Giannis, Zion is really well positioned. If you want to run back Ja and Giannis in the same game, it seems like that could be a good time. Jimmy Butler versus Houston, he's well rested and good to go unless something changes with the Miami report. But like, this seems like an awesome Jimmy Butler spot to just go nuts and just do whatever he wants. And Houston, fifth worst defense in the league, and also they yield the most steals, turn the ball over a ton. They get blocked a ton. It's just an awesome matchup for Butler just to sort of do his thing out there. Even Hero at like kind of I don't know if it's $8K for Tyler Hero seems like a lot, but I don't know if it is when you consider like he's going to be just shooting like crazy and playing potentially 36, 37, maybe 40 minutes tonight. The stars are there, and we have plenty of cheapies to make stuff work as well. We'll talk about Clippers later on. New Orleans is without a few of their key pieces, at least one key piece. I'm just curious as far as what you want to get out as far as general thoughts before we dive in. Do you agree it's stars and Scrubsy?
Yeah, it's somewhat stars and Scrubsy today, like especially just because from an optimal standpoint, we're probably going to be looking at like Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, Giannis build. Like that's going to be the main look today in terms of the stars. We're going to be looking to get into our lineups, and then
Giannis.
Yeah, like I think Giannis is still going to be with the amount of value that we have. Like if you click, I thought you were like disagreeing with me having said him.
I didn't hear you say Giannis. Did you not say Giannis?
Yeah, Giannis, Butler, and Hero. Like I think that's like the primary spend ups we're going to be looking for today. And then even in tournaments, like if we're looking to get different, it's still going to have to be moderately stars and Scrubsy. Like you can be looking at the mid tier like Jalen Green, CJ McCollum, Jordan Clarkson, those guys. But at the end of the day, you're probably paying up for at least one of Giannis or Zion on top of the Miami stuff you're doing today, or John Morant.
All right, so I just ran some optimals. I was curious what we're looking at here. A lot of Heat players. I might have to put some Heat rules on because I see 5 Heat players hitting an optimal. I don't like that. I think that's too many. I think 5's too many. Maybe 4. But yeah,
I think kind of 3 on FanDuel, 4 on DraftKings would be kind of how I'd look at it today, because we do still have a ton of good value on the Clippers.
Yes, and it could get better as well because
and realistically, like the value on Milwaukee is not that bad either. Like, this is value that we were all going to earlier in the day.
It's backseat value, though. It's been surpassed.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and it's interesting stuff you can kind of work in. But Clippers without Kawhi and Paul George and Rjax, like 3 of their top 3. I think those are their top 3 options. And Powell, I forgot about Powell.
And then probably Zubats. Like,
yeah, and Zubac, I don't think plays. And right now we have Zubac in for what it's worth, and that's a 10:00 game, and that's just
Kennard
the way it is.
still questionable.
Yeah, Nard, and then now that means like John Wall season, the guy that like I haven't played basically all year because of minutes restrictions, but I assume he's going to play enough and have just an insane amount of usage. He's popping as a really strong play, and then if you want to consider people like Robert Covington, I think Covington's kind of sort of something interesting. If what's his name doesn't go, Zubac, Batum, I guess maybe, I don't know, possibly. Booker, are people going to play? I'm not sure. And Zion, I don't know if you mentioned Zion, but it's the nut matchup for Zion against Utah. Utah, more than any other team, gives the most points in the paint by almost 2 points more than the next worst team. And Zion, 75% of his points come from the paint. We saw this game a couple days ago. The New Orleans, they've been chilling in Salt Lake City the last couple of days. I don't know what you do in SLC, where it's just like you're snowed in, but they've been just hanging out and getting room service, I suppose. I think they get even tonight. They got blown out the other night, in part because they couldn't hit a 3. Utah's very good at subduing 3s. And Zion got in foul trouble. He played like 25 minutes or so, but he's fast in his 25 minutes. Just love him tonight, especially if he falls back. If he's falling back in like the priority list behind Butler and behind Hero and behind Giannis, like I love it. I mean, he's not going to hide. It's a 4-game slate. He's a big boy too. But, if we're not getting like 50%, we're not going to get 50% ownership on Zion. I'm curious what we have on him, but that's just my general overall thoughts. I thought it was worth mentioning just because it's a 4-gamer and there's just a lot to follow and there's a lot of moving pieces that we're keeping an eye on. Is there anything else we should kind of mention before we dive in and do the game-by-game deal?
I don't really think so. I agree with you. Zion is very interesting today as well. And I think you're kind of looking at getting Giannis or Zion into your lineup today. One of them is kind of going to be a must. The last question I'd have for you, though, is say we get Zubats out in this one and Moses Brown is starting.
Oh, yeah.
Now if you have Jock Landale as the last piece in your lineup, if Moses Brown is starting, do you swap to Moses Brown from Jock Landale?
Well, it's tricky because it depends on what site we're talking about. Because I think
it'd be kind of like a straight switch for both of them because both of them are only center eligible and they're closely priced on both sites.
Well, so I guess when Bismack is probably going to start. Do we think Bismack and Landale chop the 48 minutes as far as center minutes? Maybe. I'm not sure if that's possible. But what if the Clippers are without Zubac? The Clippers are just saying we're going small, and maybe Phoenix just responds and say, "Well, I guess if you're small, we're small too." And maybe
I feel like Biyombo and Landale actually kind of fit the small ball style lineup, and that would actually probably benefit Landale a little bit more. But that's what I mean. Like, so if you have Landale as that last spot because he's so cheap, and then Moses Brown starts, do you keep with Landale or do you roll with Moses Brown?
The thing is, Moses Brown is an awesome fantasy point per minute player. The sample isn't huge, but this year he's 1.33 on DK, 1.38 on Fanduel. And yeah, I guess it's important that you asked as far as the Phoenix guys, because we probably don't get Moses Brown news before Milwaukee, Memphis, before Miami, Houston.
It'd be specifically for that swap because you probably don't want to play both because, like you said, like we're not going to know it. But because that's in that same game, $3,100 Landale, and then $3K Moses Brown, like that's probably going to be a switch people are going to have to figure out dealing with there because Biyombo is 3.6, Landale's 3.1, and so with both of them being projected very similarly, I think like Landale would probably be the higher upside one to go to, especially on DraftKings, where you're not getting that extra block upside.
I mean, if Bismack starts, and I think Bismack's going to start, I don't know if Landale's got the highest upside if Brown starts, but again, if Zubac is out, I'm not certain Brown starts. He might start.
Yeah, I don't know either. I think that's why it'd be a swap off one. I do, for what it's worth, even if Biyombo starts, which I expect him to, I prefer Landale.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, and a lot of it might be game flow. Like if Brown's playing really well, he's going to stay out there. If he's not, I mean, they have options. They can have Batum at the center, and they can have Covington at the center. Like they can do stuff like that. Morris could play center, right? So it's
100%. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to. I have no lean on that. It's just specifically if in a vacuum Moses Brown starts, who would you like better between him and Landale?
I would say highest upside is Moses Brown. That's
I agree with that. I agree with that.
I'd say he's a little bit more fragile though.
I agree with that completely. That's kind of my take on it as well.
And maybe like read your lineup, right? Like see where you're at. If you're playing a little bit of catch up. But the weird thing is like Landale's theoretically the guy coming off the bench, and he's the safer one, and Brown's the guy starting that theoretically is a little bit more fragility. I don't know.
It's just because Landale, you're getting 18 to 22 minutes tonight. Like
you feel pretty confident. That's okay. Not much more. Yeah.
Whereas Brown, if he starts, he could get 28 if he plays very well, 25 Correct. More likely, or he could play the first 4 minutes of the first quarter and the first 4 minutes of the third quarter, and that's it.
Yes, and it's your own tolerance, man. It's tough, but I would read my lineup and see where I'm at, and then try to make the best guess. But none of it's very comfortable. I don't know how comfortable you are at that, but there's certainly plenty of upside.
I'm pretty comfortable with Landale, but Brown. But like again, I don't feel like that he's going to be 10xing or more. You know what I mean? But I guess it is possible with just that price tag. But anyways, let's get into this game by game. Let's start talking Milwaukee and Memphis because first game of the night.
But Diabate's still there too for the Clippers. That's worth noting. He's another big that they still have. So they have bodies. Like even though they ruled out a bunch of guys, they still have like 11 guys.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. They might be down to like 9 or 10 if things go the wrong way. But all right, very first game. My Miami Heat for now are at the Rockets. 219 is the total. They're still 2-point favorites, it looks like, despite the fact that they're going to be without the services of a lot of players. Not going to run them all. Well, the key ones are there's no Bam, there's no Lowry, there's no Oladipo. I think he played 31 minutes yesterday. Dedmon's out too, so their backup center's out also. Currently, we have Jovic questionable with his back. Like I can't imagine him not playing, but you never know. It's Miami. They have 10 guys in uniform. That's including that's assuming Jovic starts, or including he plays. And Haslam's one of the 10. Jamal Cain is one of the 10. Orlando Robinson, Hayward, Highsmith. Like it's going to be a thin. It's going to be a thin rotation, and it's a potential perfect storm where it's a thin rotation versus Houston. Just that's beautiful. All the minutes for Jimmy Butler. He's fine. Like I assume standard minutes for Butler, like coming back from his rest. They planned this whole thing out. This is not like a big surprise. They rested him yesterday on purpose because they knew other guys were resting today. Yeah. How much do we like Butler? How much do we like Hero, Caleb Martin, Strus? They're fine as well. And Jovic, assuming he starts, is going to project well. But again, there is some fragility to that.
I kind of rank them Butler 1, Harrow 2, Strus 3, Martin 4. I think the Miami chalk is good chalk today. Yeah. And I think Caleb Martin is the one that I'd want to pivot away from. To me, he's like a good cash game play, but just doesn't show that high of ceiling all that often. Now, I know with Kyle Lowry out, with him playing a little bit of one every now and then, that will lead to a higher ceiling than before. I think the last time I said those specific words about him were at the end of November, and he happened to put up like a 50-point game or something like that. But if you like, he's typically not the type of guy that scores all that many fantasy points. And so I think I'd rather take a shot on Strus. I'd rather take a shot on Orlando Robinson and Nikola Jovic as opposed to Caleb Martin today. He'd be the one piece of chalk that I think I'd want to get away from in tournaments. And then, but Butler and Harrow are definitely priorities in 1 and 2 in this spot. And then Strus, I think, is going to be my favorite piece of value alongside Jovic as long as he starts.
Orlando Robinson in the G League this year, right? This is his per 36 numbers in the G League. Wait, is that
Caleb Martin ankle says he will play.
Okay. We're probably going to get a follow-up for Jovic, or maybe. So this is per 36 in the G League for Oscar. Oscar Robinson's a different guy. He averaged a triple-double like 70 years ago. This is Orlando Robinson. Relation? No relation? Not sure. He has a per 36 of 25 points, 14 rebounds, 3 assists, 1.5 steals, 1.5 blocks. He shoots some threes. So he's at least active in the G League, Orlando Robinson.
If he started, I'd play a ton of him, especially on DraftKings.
I don't think he will.
If just like for some reason, if he happened to.
He might be their sixth man, though. And I'm just trying to think of ways how Jovic doesn't close. It's not going to be Haslam closing. I don't think it's going to be Kane. I mean, Robinson, probably not. It could be Highsmith. Maybe it's a little more stable at Jovic if he plays. Because we've seen it. I'm trying to think of the scenarios in the past where he got kicked out. And I think it was like guys like Gabe Vincent that were closing, and he's not there today. Okay. How do you feel about that, the Jovic play? Assuming he starts.
If he starts, I'm secure enough with it to play him just because they don't have all that much size. Like, yes, they can go small, but he's cheap enough that it's Houston. Like, even if he starts and only plays 22 minutes, like, you'd think he'll still be fine against Houston. So I don't mind it too much. But like, if I'm playing lots of lineups today, I still love the idea of pivoting to somebody like an Orlando Robinson in tournaments. Like, what are we projecting Orlando Robinson's ownership? 13% on DraftKings and probably like half that on Fanduel. I would probably be trying to at least double the field on Robinson today just because of his potential upside.
I see how big he is. They have him listed as a center, but like, is he a center or is he like 6'10"? All right. Talk about Houston for a second as I pull this up more about this Orlando Robinson.
All right. So on the Houston side of things, like you mentioned, Şengün is going to have a lot of upside. Jalen Green's got a great price over on DraftKings. These are great plays, and especially if you are playing a ton of Heat players which you most likely are. I think we're probably just going tournament type players though. Like, I guess for me, Jalen Green, if you're looking for him on FanDuel, like, he is a potential cash option on both sides. And if you're looking at him or Clarkson, I think I prioritize Jalen Green over Clarkson because I just think he's got a bit higher upside in this spot, and I like the correlation of running it back with Miami. But I do also think some of these guys are interesting in large field tournaments, like Jabari Smith, Tari Eason, Kenyon Martin. If I'm running 150 today, these are guys I'm going to be including in my pool just in case this Miami game gets really ugly and we end up seeing a lot of the backups playing in the large minutes in the second half. Yeah,
if Smith was out, I thought, Martin would be a big upgrade. But, Smith rolled in. Same deal with Eason, who I like. It's just you never really know how many minutes he's going to get. His minutes are pretty fragile. He's a good fantasy point minute player. It's just, I'm guessing we're projecting somewhere around like low 20s on it. And I don't know how useful that is in this slate. Yeah, we got 18 for Eason, which is that's not a lot. You touched on Şengün. They don't run him. His rotations kind of stink. We're projecting 28 minutes for him. They're really healthy. They have a lot of bodies. For some reason, they got to get Bruno Fernando and Garuba in the mix. Too many minutes as far as I can tell. We're chopping it 10, 10, 28. Is 28 enough minutes for Şengün to just demolish whatever is this Miami line? Because Houston's a really good rebounding team. Şengün, good passer. He can hold the ball and just sort of run the offense to some degree. I don't know if he's going to do that necessarily. I like Green a good bit too, especially on DK. That 6-6 price is really, really cheap. Good with Porter as well. I hate game stacking right at the gate, but this feels like a really, really good game stack. And then we talked about it before as far as the cheap centers. Like, what does Şengün have to do to make him a good play over, Phoenix and the Clipper game, right? You mentioned liking Jock. Or
I look at it less about what he has to do and just more of what he can. Because we've seen when Şengün smashes this year, he plays mid 30s minutes, low to mid 30s minutes, and puts up 50, 60, 65 fantasy points. And so he just has such a huge ceiling on any given night that, yeah, he's not the best projected guy because we can't project him for more than 28 minutes. But if he gets 31 minutes, he's the best center player on the slate. If he gets 30 minutes, he's probably the best center player on the slate. So yes, there's volatility with him, but he just has such a wild upside that he could get there in limited minutes because of the lack of size in this Miami front court, or he could play a great game and this could be close and he just breaks the slate with a 60-point game.
I think it'll be close. I don't think there's any reason to think it won't be close. If anything, I think Houston pulls away. But I mean, I think Jimmy and Hero are going to keep this game close on the Miami side, and Houston's got plenty of skills as well. I think it's a close game. So, and whatever sort of defensive metrics Miami, you want to run away from them, but certainly they take a hit. The absence of Bam is a big downgrade defensively. Lowry being gone is a downgrade. Duncan Robinson having them play some minutes is a downgrade. He's poor defensively. So, Houston looks better that way as well. Anything else to say as far as this game? You want to say your favorite play on both sides of this game, but this game looks really, really good.
Butler and Harrow are kind of 1A, 1B. I kind of view this as a game. I think Harrow is going to have 40 real points, and I think Butler is going to have 18 assists, like something stupid. Yeah, like something stupid like that in this spot. That's kind of how I think this is going to unfold. And then on the Houston side, for tournaments, my favorite run back is Şengün. For cash, my favorite run back is Jalen Green. Or just like for optimals, my favorite run back is Jalen Green.
Ownership-wise, on DK, Butler 39%, Hero 36%, Martin at 22, Strus at 17. I think this might have to get updated a little bit. Well, do we not have – where do we have Jovic in here? Did I X him out or something? Why can't I not – do you see Jovic? Oh, we have Jovic at 12%, which I think if he starts and he's 3K, well, that's not changing. I think it'll be higher than 3K. I'm sorry. I think it'll be higher than 12% ownership. Would you not agree with that?
For who, sorry?
Jovic.
Oh yeah, that'll go up for sure once he's announced in the starting lineup if he's confirmed in. 204 people watching. Let's get these likes up a little bit. We need at least over 50 for Dean to save some time for me to talk some football at the end. I want to talk some football at the end. You guys want me to talk some football at the end. We need 50 likes for it to happen. Otherwise, Dean's just going to keep going real slow.
Who's playing tonight in the NFL?
San Francisco and the Seattle Seahawks.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. I'm in 2 season-long leagues, and both my teams, humble brag, I got to buy first round of the playoffs. So I don't have to worry about setting my lineup. But
that's what's going to happen, people. If we don't get the likes up, Dean is going to talk about his season-long fantasy teams instead of me talking about the slate tonight.
They don't want to know that I have Jalen Hurts. Nobody cares. Yeah, nobody cares.
Speaking of, remember when you were telling me I shouldn't be drafting Josh Jacobs in the 8th round of my best ball team?
Oh, man, I'm a big dope. I took the L on that one. Good call. You're right. I don't know if I said you shouldn't draft in the 8th round, but whenever you're telling me you're drafting me, I was saying, nah, you don't want Jacobs. It
was like the 6th to 8th. I stretched it there, but it was the 6th to 8th.
Good. Yeah, it was a terrible call by me. I wasn't on an island in this, but I thought Jacobs was going to have a really bad year. And egg on my face. I've taken that L for sure. And I hope for Jacobs' sake he gets paid, but free agent running backs don't really get paid. They're kind of easily replaceable. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the other game at 8 o'clock. Which is, I think it's an ESPN game or a TNT game. It's Milwaukee versus Memphis. 226.5 is a total. Memphis is a 2-point favorite here. I like the idea. I wrote about this in the expert survey. I don't know how popular it's going to be, but, and it's not very hard to do. And Morant is not the first stud that's coming out. We're talking about Butler getting ownership, Hero getting ownership. Giannis will get plenty owned, but I think Morant gets kind of sort of lost to some degree. He's not like an amazing, math play, but it's Ja Morant, and he absolutely can just blow this slate up. Steven Adams should be good to go. Morant he had a thigh, but he should be good to go as well. Otherwise, they're perfectly healthy with the absence of Bane. That's been the case for a while. Milwaukee's defense takes a hit with the Drew Holiday not playing basketball tonight. Otherwise, they are fully healthy. I thought running Morant and Giannis, starting a lineup of those two and just seeing what you get build out that way is an interesting way to attack this slate. What's your thoughts as far as that strategy and just everything in general when it comes to Milwaukee and Memphis?
Yeah, I think everything you said lines up there. Outside of Ja, nobody's really getting to anybody on the Memphis side other than Dillon Brooks, and I don't really have any interest in Brooks. I do have interest in Ja for tournaments, and I think kind of if you want to take everything you just said about Ja and amplify it, I think that is true about Jaren Jackson Jr. Like, he's not going to get a ton of minutes, but we've seen the per minute upside he's been putting up today. If this is a close game against Milwaukee, maybe he pushes this one a little bit closer to 30. He blocks 5-6 shots and puts up 20 points, and we could have a big game from Jaren Jackson Jr. today. So at 1% or 2% ownership on a 4-game slate, to me, that's a guy that you get at least 10 to 15% of in tournaments just in case he goes off and will win all the money.
You have the money for it, but he's a little bit overpriced. But I like your thesis. I think that's an interesting thought process. And, of course, he can get in foul trouble really, really quickly with Giannis in the court. And historically, he's had those issues. For what it's worth, this year, his fouls are down compared to the rest of his career. This is a guy that almost was a foul out in a per 36, 5.9 in 2020. That was a small sample size. But like in 2018, 5.2 fouls per 36. This year, it's down to 4, just 4 fouls per 36. So good for him. Small sample stuff, but he's just a little less handsy on the court, which, and like you said, he can really get going, especially on Fanduel. He's an awesome shot blocker. And if he can get 6 or 7 or 8, and I think we saw it recently where he had a 7 or 8 block game. And of course, he can throw some steals in there as well. I don't mind that at all for tournaments. And it's a good player to get over the field. And it's not hard. Like you said, 1 or 2% ownership is just, if you're running 150, absolutely get the 10. That's fine. We're seeing 2. Otherwise, I am not playing 6'9" Dillon Brooks. That is not a nice price when Ja is healthy. I can't do it. Tyus Jones, of course, you can't pay 6'3" unless you're banking on like John Morant injury in the first quarter. I got nothing else on Memphis. I guess you can play some Adams, but I think Giannis is a better center if you want to call him a center. Valanciunas is pretty cheap. Landell, Şengün we talked about. It's, I don't think I'm getting to Adams. I think it's Memphis, it's Ja or Jackson in tournaments, and then that's it for me. Milwaukee, well, talk about Milwaukee because I think it's basically, well, there's some fringe pieces, but Giannis is the key piece, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Giannis is the key piece. Chris Middleton projects well. This is a good spot for him. I just don't really find myself getting to that range very much at his position. Like that 7K range isn't somewhere that I'm getting to a lot today because I find myself going to Heat and Clippers guys in that spot. And so Middleton is just kind of getting lost in the shuffle. And although I think he projects as a great option, I'm not super worried about his ceiling. Like, I'm not really worried about, I didn't have Chris Middleton and that's why I lost today. And so if I'm running 150, I'm still very interested in these Milwaukee players as values: Grayson Allen, Javon Carter, Pat Connaughton. But other than that, it's just a little bit of Middleton, maybe a smidgen of Portis, and then a lot of Giannis today.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. Giannis looks so good, and it's really easy to get to him. The rest of your lineup can look good, and you have Giannis. It's not that hard to make that work. It's more of a decision point when it comes to ownership. We only have 34%, which I think, I don't want to say it's low, but I mean, I'm going to have more than 34%, I think. It's not going to be very difficult to get them. The rest of the pieces on Milwaukee, as far as ownership-wise, the Middleton price jumped up from 6K to 6.8. I think there's still some value there, 27%. Portis at 17%. He had a big game last time out in the absence of Holiday. And then just the fringe guys like Grayson Allen, who was looking better in the morning. Javon Carter was looking better in the morning. Connaughton, if you want to thread that needle. But otherwise, I got nothing else in this game that's worth noting. Shall we move on?
Let's keep it rolling. New Orleans and Utah. Like, this is a 1-point spread. This is a high total. Let's do it.
Yeah, 232.5 is the total. New Orleans is a 1-point favorite or even, depending on where you're shopping. They are without Jose Alvarado. He's got a rib, so he can't play. And Brandon Ingram's still dealing with his toe. Utah, Sexton's out for a while with that hammy, and Fentecchio is still out, but that's not a big deal. I mentioned it before. We talked about it. Zion, this is a beautiful Zion matchup where he eats inside, and Utah just is so vulnerable inside. I wish he could hit threes. He did attempt a couple last game, which is interesting to see. He didn't make them, no surprise. But, this feels like a spot where he's going to just light them up, put 40 real-life points on the board. And he'll give you some other stuff, too. As far as big spends, it's I don't know if I prioritize him number one just because of other scenarios. Because, the Butler scenario looks so good against Houston, and he's last man standing, him and Hero, 1 and 1A. But love Zion. Otherwise, like Valanciunas is okay, good math play. Tricky part with him, of course, is he gets the hook. He doesn't close, most likely doesn't close. Him and Nance probably chopping those minutes. It's a terrible Murphy spot. Utah is an awesome team when it comes to defending in threes. As bad as they are inside, that's how good they are outside. They give up the fewest made three-pointers made. Murphy, he makes a living off of making threes. I don't think tonight's the night for him. And I'm fine with McCollum. Your thoughts as far as New Orleans?
If I was playing it single entry style, I would prioritize having Zion or Jonas Valanciunas in my lineup. I'd hope. If it doesn't roll that way, it doesn't roll that way. But those would be kind of my priorities for me, just assuming if it's not Zion's day, it's probably going to be JV's day. And if it's not either of them, it's probably going to be Larry Nance. But that's kind of another thing. And single entry, that's who I'd be looking to prioritize, as well as CJ McCollum. Just too cheap for no Brandon Ingram. Finally playing some better basketball lately. He's in a great spot today. But if I was running 150, I don't think there'd be a single New Orleans player that we currently have projected at Lineup HQ that I'd be Xing out of my pool. On FanDuel, I would be. I'd be kind of Xing most of them out. But on DraftKings, or even like a 3K Devontae Graham, 3.6 Najee Marshall, 3.7 Dyson Daniels, 4.5 Herb Jones, and below 4K Larry Nance, like all of those players have ceilings at that price tag if the game goes a certain way. And so I think, and kind of all have the potential to, even if they only play their projected minutes, still not kill you. And so I think all these New Orleans players in tournaments are very interesting large field tournament values off of the chalkier values that we have. But I would only be willing to take those risks if I was running 150 today.
Yeah, Tank and Stein and Chad saying Devontae Graham's without Alvarado sneaky. Maybe a little bit. Like we got him projected for 18 minutes. Like he's a good scorer. This is a guy like not that long ago was I think averaging maybe 20 points a game in the league.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like his median projection is completely irrelevant because we picked 18 because he could play 30, he could play 5. And that's because he's probably going to come in and in his first shift, and if he's hitting his shots, he's going to get extended run, and if he's not, he's not. And so he's a guy that if you're running 150 in this situation, great to keep in the pool. We're projecting him for 2%.
It's probably lower than that, by the way. I think it'd be less than 2% owned.
Yeah, bump his minutes up a little bit and get 6% Devontae Graham in your 150 lineups today. And if he happens to get hot and put up 30, you're great. And if not, well, who cares? You only had 6% of them kind of thing.
Well, just understand that like his floor is like 4. Like
yeah, even like 0.
Really, really bad. Yeah.
But on DraftKings today, I think it's very interesting to kind of look at one of Dyson Daniels or Devontae Graham as a guard value. And then also I think it's very interesting to consider like, do I want to have one of Zion Williamson, Jonas Valanciunas, or Larry Nance in most of my lineups today? Because what are the chances that one of those guys doesn't have a huge day? If this game stays close, it's probably going to be Zion. If Zion gets in foul trouble and it's close, it's probably going to be Jonas Valanciunas. If this game doesn't stay close, it's almost for surely going to be Larry Nance. Now, yes, it could be a situation where they just play their allotted amount of minutes and this game gets pushed away at the end, and so no one gets that big run. They all just do fine. But if that's the case, you're not really mad that you got a lot of those guys anyways. So I wouldn't want to do lots of stacking with Jonas, Zion, and Larry Nance together, but especially on DraftKings, I think I'd be wanting to get at least one of those players in most of my lineups, if not all.
Thoughts on Utah? I'm not chasing that Vanderbilt game. He was awesome last time out. He was crazy efficient. I don't think that repeats. He's also like more expensive than they basically always is. You could play Markkanen for sure, always. Clarkson's playable. I like the price for Connolly. 5.3 seems pretty usable. but what's his ceiling, right? When does Connolly ever break the slate? They don't give him enough minutes anyway, but he should be fine. There's not one guy in Utah I feel great about, but they're all like sort of different degrees of fine. Is that how you feel?
100%. I'm more likely to play them the more New Orleans players I have in my lineup. And then the other two I'd mention for just you never X them out of your pool on a slate this small would be Malik Beasley and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, just because in tournaments they have the ceiling. Are they the most likely to hit it today? No. But do they have the ceiling? Yes. And when Nickeil Alexander-Walker, even in limited minutes, is playing against his old team and has had 35 fantasy points in 2 straight games, you just keep him in the pool.
He was talking some smack. I don't know if you were watching that game, but he was talking to the New Orleans bench last game. He played with a lot of those guys, obviously. I can't remember if he was cut or traded. I don't know.
It's because he's sitting there saying, I'm better than Devontae Graham. I'm better than Dyson Daniels.
You get that scrap over me?
Exactly.
But he wasn't great, to be fair. Like, but he did get off. Yeah, he had a great game. And, like, if you repeat that, for sure, he's playable. But he's another one of those guys that, like, that was the best possible outcome for him. And, he doesn't project as a good math play, obviously. Let's talk about the last game of the slate, the 4-gamer. Crunch Time Crew is coming on in about 10 minutes or so. They're going to take you guys up to lock. Kindly hit that like button, subscribe, turn on those notifications. If you want any football talk, TJ is prepared to talk about the Showdown slate. If you guys want that, we can do that. Ask any football questions you have in chat. By all means, fire away. The late night hammer, Phoenix versus the Clippers. Phoenix is going to be without DeAndre Ayton and Cam Payne and Cam Johnson. Anybody else named Cam not playing for Phoenix tonight. Devin Booker expected to play with that hamstring. Clippers without all their players. No Kawhi, no George, no Jackson, no Powell. Nard Luke Kennard is questionable. Ivica Zubac also questionable. Stay tuned.
What was that one again?
Say it again.
Ivica
Zubac. Is that not correct?
I guess I only know that. I shouldn't be making fun of you because the only reason I know that is NBA 2K, but it's Ivica.
Is it Ivica?
Ivica.
It could be. Yeah, you might be right. Yeah. I just call him Zubac.
I'm pretty sure it's Zubats.
We're on a basis where we know we just call each other by each other's last names. But
like Zubats.
Yeah. I think it's the Z's that stick together. Like you're Zwarich and like you get upset.
Yeah. Well, it's like that's why I always found it hilarious that like the first person at RG to like nail my last name was Cards, Justin Van Zuden. He's got that Z in his last name too.
There you go. Well, I never asked your last name. I don't think I have.
No, you're one of the better ones. You're one of the better ones.
It's a good name to say. I don't say it enough. Zwarich. That's pretty good. You want to trade straight up? I'm open to talk. We can slide into the DMs later on. But
Phoenix, if I'm playing 150, I'm definitely including a lot of Devin Booker in the pool because maybe he's 100%, and if he's 100%, then he's underpriced. Chris Paul's price worries me a little bit. 8.2 on both sites. Not sure how much I want to get there. Same with Mikal Bridges. Biyombo is not someone I'd touch on FanDuel where he's 5'3". I still think you can play Landale at 4.2 on FanDuel. And then on DraftKings, this Phoenix value is even more enticing, whereas you get Devin Booker priced up a bit more. Don't like him quite as much, but he is lower. He is less owned over there. But it's really just about Biyombo and Landale over there for me.
Question in chat. I'm not sure the question how much, but like, can you play Hero and Butler together in the same lineup? Of course you can. When it says how much, like
in all of your lineups, I think that's fine.
How much Hero and Butler in the same lineup can you get? Like,
I would put absolutely no limits on that.
I wouldn't force. Yeah, I wouldn't say like, oh, I can't have those guys playing together because there's a world where they both get there, and that's not a crazy world. That's not Looney Tunes. I think it's very possible that both Hero and Butler pay off tonight. We kind of speculated before as far as the center situation with Phoenix and the Clippers. If Zubac doesn't start, it could be Batum. We talked about Moses Brown. They do have other bodies. They do have other players that can theoretically kind of jump in there. We talked about Diabate. They might dust him off. If Moses Brown starts, he could be super interesting. We're expecting Bismack to start for Phoenix. Much more interesting on DK than he is on FanDuel. FanDuel, I think he's in the 5s. I don't think we're giving 48 to Landale and Bismack, but close to 48. Other questions that are popping up in chat. Devontae Graham or Duncan Robinson a viable spend down in tournaments? They're both fragile. You have a preference amongst those two, Graham versus Robinson?
I don't really love either, but I would go with Devontae Graham.
Yeah, I would just say both those guys are large field. Like those aren't like single entry plays that I would consider. I don't think. Definitely not Graham in single entry.
I'll give a quick, or no, sorry, we still got Clippers here. Swapping to the Clipper side of thing, John Wall is one of my favorite plays on the slate. Yeah, he's not going to get a ton of minutes, but he should produce in those minutes. Marcus Morris is going to be my favorite value. Terrence Mann, number 2. Covington, number 3. And then, like, I'm good with playing Batum. I have no issue there, especially on DraftKings. If Moses Brown starts, I think he's interesting. If I was playing 150 and I didn't get him starting, I'd still probably play him in like 1 or 2 of my lineups of 150 just because of that upside. If Kennard plays, I think he's interesting. And then any random player you get in the starting lineup is probably going to be interesting here as well. The guys that I'd least want to pull the trigger on would be Amir Coffey. But if you get like Brandon Boston Jr. in the starting lineup, I think he becomes a very interesting value play.
Huh. I haven't considered him, to be honest. Michael in chat, Damian Lee was popping last game. Now he's unknown. Why? Or thoughts? Well, I mean, it's because all this other value.
Because Devin Booker's back.
Well, the other part of it is just like it's what's around. It wasn't so much about Damian Lee. It's what's around him. Like now all the value for the Clippers, all the value for Miami. It's every slate's different, so at least projection is probably basically the same.
But the biggest, it's not the same at all because Damian Lee was projected for like 22 fantasy points last game because Devin Booker was out.
Well, he's taking campaigns minutes now.
Yeah, but campaign missing is nowhere near as big of a deal as Devin Booker.
As far as usage, that's a good point too. Yeah,
it's 21 minutes as opposed to 38 minutes, and it's or 32, whatever you want to call it. But Booker, when he's healthy, usually gets that upper range of 30s. And then,
Matthew makes a good point, by the way. It feels like the Clippers play 10 guys, 24 minutes each. Like that's something. I think Morris plays like 28 to 32. Wall plays about 28, but I can definitely see them playing 10 guys and everybody's playing like at least like 18 minutes. I can see that. And depending on who's hot and the flow of the game and all that kind of stuff, it can be frustrating. But they're all cheap. A lot of them are cheap, and they're going to be usable. And Wall and Morris, I think the clear 2 best Clippers. And otherwise, Covington at still minimum. Like in a vacuum, I know it's a different position, but I like Covington more than I like Graham if we're talking 3K players. I don't know if you have a thought on that. I hear you typing away. Are you writing a thesis right now? Or are you answering a question in chat? I can't see what's going on.
I've been answering some questions in the YouTube chat, but then I also have a pretty big name creator that just messaged me trying to set up an interview. And so right. Like I don't think you can play any of this Phoenix guard value. Like even running 150, they're not in my pool. No Landry Shamet, no Damian Lee.
Yeah, you're answering the question in chat, not to cut you off, but like Tankenstein's like Damian Lee or Shamet straight up.
Yeah, like that's what I just peaked on. Like I don't think those are guys. Like Devin Booker's back. When Devin Booker's back, we don't play these guys.
Well, why is that the question? Like why are we ignoring everything else and going to Lee and Shamet? I don't understand.
Exactly. Like to me, it's Miami. That's priority 1 in terms of your value. The Clippers, that's priority 2 because yes, absolutely, that 24-minute thing could happen. But guess what? 24 minutes from somebody who's 3K, that's still really good. And so that's why I'm not super worried about that. So I kind of go Miami 1, Clippers 2 in terms of value, and then I would look to New Orleans or Milwaukee and even Houston way before I would look to Phoenix outside of Biyombo and Landale in this one. Do we have more
good
basketball questions?
The reason why he's asking, and it's a good thing to point out, and it's worth talking about because small forward specifically on DK stinks. You kind of have to I don't want to say overspend, but Markkanen's not a bargain, but you can play Markkanen, you can play Middleton. I think Strus and Caleb Martin are fine at small forward. Grayson Allen's okay. I'm not really in on Murphy today. But that's the point. It's like there's no clear and obvious.
But like I would way rather play if I'm dumpster diving, I'd way rather play Pat Connaughton, Dyson Daniels, Duncan Robinson. I'd go Najee Marshall over Damian Lee today.
I think Caleb Martin's like the safest or one of those heat guys.
In cash, it's Caleb Martin, and then my direct pivot for tournaments that I like best would be Max Strus. But even if you want to get lower there, like Grayson Allen, Herb Jones, Eric Gordon, Pat Connaughton, Dyson Daniels, Duncan Robinson, Najee Marshall. I don't like Duncan Robinson, but other than that, like all of those are much better options today than those Phoenix guys.
Should I Robinson today? If you want, do people want like 30 seconds or a minute or so on the NFL? They don't seem to have that reaction. I didn't see anybody talking about it in the chat, but by all means, if you got it, this is to be about the time that the Showdown show.
Yeah, it's advertised, so I just want to get something in there, you know. For me, I'm like optimal perspective. I'm prioritizing Christian McCaffrey on both sites as the captain and MVP position by a very large margin today. Even in my single entry stuff, even when I'm looking to differentiate, I'm getting significantly over the field on Christian McCaffrey. So if I was running 150 on both those sites, I'd probably be looking at getting about 50% of my lineups as McCaffrey MVPs or McCaffrey captains, depending on what sites that you're looking at. My favorite contrarian options at the captain/MVP position on DraftKings. If I'm not going all the way up top for McCaffrey, I think I'd want to either just go a full Seattle stack with Geno, or Tyler Lockett would be my next kind of option that I'd want to look to there. Outside of McCaffrey, everybody's going to be single digit owned, so you really don't have to get all that crazy here. And so I think I would just want to be getting double the field on McCaffrey, or go somebody super duper cheap like a Ray McLeod or a Juwan Jennings, hope they catch a touchdown or two. And you can get a little bit different there. And then Brandon Ayuk would be kind of my other option. But McCaffrey is my priority. And then my favorite salary savers to make sure I can fit in my Lockett, my Ayuks in there with my quarterbacks would be Ray McLeod and Juwan Jennings. Over on FanDuel, less inclined to get to the McLeod and Jennings because their salary doesn't mean near as much. Christian McCaffrey still by far my favorite captain/MVP play. I'd be looking to get at least 50 to 60% of him there. And then my next favorite options, Tyler Lockett, kind of in that mid-tier along with Brandon Ayuk.
Question in chat for basketball. Can you play Wall, Morris, and Mann together? Wall and Morris, definitely. Mann, yeah. I kind of want Kennard out, but I guess you can play all three.
I think you can play all three, especially on DraftKings. On FanDuel, maybe it's a little bit tight, but on DraftKings, I think you can do it for sure.
Mann's my least favorite amongst those three, but he's also going to be the lowest owned amongst those three, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, he's also the guy that like he could start at point guard today. They just still might run John Wall off the bench, and Mann could start at point guard. So it's like Mann does have some upside today.
I would be kind of shocked if Wall didn't start, but I guess that's possible. We should have the Crunch Time crew coming in here momentarily. My understanding, we got Roth. I believe it's you know what? Do you know who's coming on here, TJ? I don't know. I know it's
Roth, Luuch, and Dre, I believe.
All right, there we go. All right, they should be knocking on the door. Well, I see Luuch in chat. Luuch should be prepping and ready to go. He's
on December. It was on December 7th, I believe. Reggie Jackson was out, and I don't know if John Wall was out too. But Mann played 36 minutes, as well as a bunch of them at the point guard position, and he put up 40 FanDuel points.
Yeah, I'm guessing Leonard Kawhi wasn't around, obviously.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean he's had his moments. I've never seen to get that guy in the right night. He's a frustrating roster, but actually we haven't projected both to start for what it's worth. We got Wall, Mann, Batum, Morris, and Zubac as the starters.
And so you're kind of looking at it today like maybe we get some Brandon Boston point guard, maybe we get some Jason Preston point guard, but likely Terrence Mann is going to be the point guard on all the minutes that John Wall's not on the court.
Yeah, I can see that. Maybe taking one of them out early and then having once at 48 minutes at all times, one of Wall or Mann should be on the.
Wall was also out that game, and me is saying in chat, so that
well, there goes that theory.
That definitely affects it as well. But I still think he's a strong play today.
So much for
Nikola Jovic available to play, Max Strus available to play, Tyler Harrow available to play, and Jimmy Butler available to play.
I was trying to tell you, they didn't fly the guy out there to sit on the bench and not dress. Of course he's going to be available to play. Yeah, the Heat playing their games. They're just up to nonsense. Andre, I think I'm done with the Heat. I think we're breaking up. I've had it. I know you're a Heat fan.
Bugging.
It's enough.
Bugging. Then you can get off the bandwagon. Just don't join us when we get back on top.
I forget that they stink. It's just they're annoying.
That's my favorite team since 03. I gotta ride with them.
Yeah, I was there since 93.
93.
I think it's 93. Yeah, since the days of Ronnie Cycli and Kevin Edwards and Rody
I
Sparrow.
was busy being born, and Dean was riding with the Heat.
All right. Well, now I'm sad and I feel old. So I'm going to step aside. And yeah, Roth, we got lineups to make. Myself and TJ, you have some content to knock out there. Roth, I assume you're with us. Yes.
Yeah, I'm here.
What's going on? Things all right? Things good?
Yeah, things are okay.
Not worth getting into.
Yeah. It's like bed. It's put kids down to bedtime. There's like screaming, cooking, literal fires, metaphorical fires, all the fun stuff.
Haslam is starting.
I'm glad that's what you took from that. Right. Thanks.
And you guys are up. Peace.
Do not play Adonis Haslam. There's my last piece of advice.
I agree with that one.
But all right, myself and TJ, we're gone. The start of the Fanduel sponsor crunch time. It starts now. Roth, take it away.
Appreciate it, Dino. I thought Udonis Haslam was like at this point like a glorified coach, GM, cheerleader. I didn't know that he ever saw the court, and apparently he's starting.
I agree with that. I didn't think that was ever happening. This news to me today.
All right. Well, I'm guessing he's min-priced. Would that be a fair guess?
That is a fair guess.
Yeah.
Without looking.
All right. Right. Yeah. Without looking, I think we can just assume that. Hey, guys, welcome to it. This is Crunch Time. It's sponsored by FanDuel. And this is going to be a bit of a weird one here because we've got basketball to talk. And then once we're all talked out of basketball, we might talk some football. Does that work for you, Luuch, Dre?
Yeah.
Perfect for me.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I like it. Hey, welcome, guys. Happy to be joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. One, it is Senor Luuch himself. Luuch, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. It's been a while. Good to see you again. I hope there's no metaphorical fires and whatever you got going on over there. I wish you the best of luck.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it has been a while. I feel like for a while we were doing a bunch of shows together and we were crushing. We were like damn near Batman and Robin, and then they broke us up. They broke up like Scottie Pippen and Michael, but we're back.
Well, hopefully we'll have a documentary about us. Maybe Steve could produce it for us, and we'll have some stories to tell.
I like it. Well, if you don't mind here today, giving us kind of a cash build, playing that Meansy role, does that work for you?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, excellent. And then coming in with the Hot Flames GPP takes, it's our guy Dre. Just digging into the latest ins and outs right now. I think I'm gonna pretend that's what you're doing.
I'm making bets.
Okay, that's even better. That's even better. I like it. That's very on brand. By the way, if you haven't done so, sign up for Scores and Odds. We've got all of your RotoGrinders professionals that you know and love and trust for DFS doing sports betting, just like that. So make sure that you're following us over on Scores and Odds. Some great content going on there. And I think I'm going to slide in a bet or two this week for NFL. The weather's looking a little bit interesting, so I might have some weather unders for you. Okay, let's talk about this slate a little bit. If you don't mind, Luuch kind of leading us off with a little bit of an overview, or you can say screw it and just dive right into a FanDuel cash build.
The slate changed every 90 minutes since the afternoon with gradual news and the Clippers pulling the rug. Paul George was supposed to play. He's not. Kawhi Leonard's also not playing. We've had so much Clippers news roll out. And then the Heat, we were kind of under the assumption that some things would potentially shake up there. So we don't have Bam today. We don't have Kyle Lowry today. We do have Jimmy Butler. We do have Tyler Hero. The thing is, those prices are up, but without Bam, as you can see on the screen share, without Bam, Tyler Hero has a super high floor. His shot volume should be incredible. I'm talking Miami Heat, so I know Dre knows his Miami Heat pretty well. No doubt Jimmy Butler is the alpha, the leader of this team, but sometimes he's a little passive and kind of defers to a guy like Hero if he gets hot. So I think, if you're playing cash game, you have to be super interested in those two high-end Miami guys, and there's a ton of value not only on Miami but on the Clippers side of things as well.
Dre, anything you want to add, just like specifically on Miami? I want to start there with, you follow this team. What are your thoughts?
All right, there's two guys on here. They're both named Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero.
Yeah.
If you have RotoGrinders lineup HQ, you go to the lock button and you click it.
Yeah.
You don't do nothing else. You hit that lock button and continue on making your lineup tonight.
Okay, is there anyone else, like some cheaper value on Miami that you're interested in, or you're just playing the two studs that remain, or the two kind of big dogs that remain?
I mean, I like this game, but I mean, you can get some value here. But I'm not. I'm gonna go probably more of a balanced build approach. Personally, I'd rather try to maybe get some of these guys on the Clippers game. Just because it's a late night hammer, and I also do like that New Orleans game a lot, and I like a couple of players from Milwaukee. So a little bit of everything, but I just prefer to get the two studs from Miami because they're going to have the highest usage on the team, and the only person I can see possibly having like a third like big game probably is like Caleb Martin here. That's about it. So I just rather take my shots on just honestly Jimmy and Tyler locking them in and maybe sprinkle a little bit of Martin there. But if you do play Martin, you gotta run it back with someone like a Jalen Green or Sengun, since there is no big down there really to defend because you got Haslam just starting, let's be honest. That's not he's older. He's still strong, but
yeah, Şengün's gonna eat him.
Sengun should have a field day, but it depends on how much they feature Sengun. But I love this spot for a guy like Jalen Green because Miami does give up a lot of threes, so he's my ideal run back in general for this team.
Okay, all right, very good stuff. Luuch, eyes wide open here. Is it in excitement?
No, I'm just getting old. I'm a little blind, I guess, now, and I need some new context. But it's the thing is, I don't think Haslam's going to play too much. We currently have him projected for 12 minutes, and
right.
I don't know. My dart throw of a guess here is 12 to 15 minutes. Maybe there's a publicity stunt cameo. Maybe a guy like Orlando Robinson is only comfortable coming off the bench for the most part. We've only seen him play in 2 games. I don't know. Anyway, I can't see Haslam running north of 20 minutes. Jovic is active, not Jokic. Jovic is active.
Yeah.
But he had some back spasms, so maybe he's not 100%. So I'm kind of okay playing Orlando Robinson in kind of any format. Like if you play Orlando Robinson, I know the ownership is below 20%, which in cash games I'm a big ownership donkey. I want to play some really high owned stuff so I don't get burned. But if he allows you to get the studs that have high floor ceiling combos and are coming in projected to be owned pretty high, I'm okay with punting Orlando Robinson. I think he's been respectable producing on a point per minute wise from what we've seen. We know his history. He isn't terrible. So 21 minutes out of him, I think that's about right, and maybe even slightly conservative based on whatever the hell we get from Haslam tonight.
Right. Haslam, we think, is doing like the Dwight Powell token starter move for sure. Like I just can't fathom him getting 30 plus, right? Yeah. I can't. Right. Probably not. Okay. Well, hey, we've got a lot to cover here in just the next 20 minutes. So if you don't mind zipping me through a FanDuel cash build, Luuch, just sort of some of your key plays or key thoughts at each position.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with either Miami stud. Dre's right. I think you really have to play John Wall as well with all of the pieces that are in cash that is missing from the Clippers. I'm not completely certain that he's going to see an uptick in minutes from kind of the baby phantom leash he's been on. But, there's a chance he has like a 40% raw usage rate tonight if he wants it. Like if he wants it could be his. So I like John Wall. I like that praise. I don't care that it's Phoenix. The usage and the praise kind of trumps everything else there. These other Clippers, honestly, Marcus Morris, Terrence Mann, I can't fault you for playing these guys, and I think they're fine. I wouldn't play Covington in cash. I wouldn't play Zubac in cash because he's a little banged up too. Wouldn't play Kennard in cash. But if Marcus Morris and Terrence Mann are like, one of your last couple pieces in, I'm totally okay with that. So, I would prioritize John Wall. I would prioritize Hero and Butler. I think you can definitely play them together in cash. That's not a problem whatsoever. Let me think here. Who else is a priority? With all the value, I love Zion Williamson as much as the next guy, but I think you just take the like elite mega high floor of Giannis, and I think you try to make something happen here on either sites. Like if there's a path to playing two of these Miami guys with Giannis, sometimes FanDuel's generous with their pricing, then maybe I'll go that way. But yeah, I would take John Wall, and I would take at least one of those two Miami studs, and also try to get Giannis.
Okay. This is completely irrelevant to the slate, but I love nothing more than in the NBA when an older guy, especially a guard, comes back after being injured, like a John Wall. And even though he doesn't have the hops and the athleticism, he's still just so damn good. Like he's just still freaking good because basketball is a skill and he just has it. He just has it in his blood. And now I want to play the slate because I didn't know we got to play John Wall. That makes me excited.
Man, I feel like just yesterday he was hooping at Kentucky, guys. So it kind of makes me feel old too.
Well, yeah, it tailed off pretty quick there with the injuries. But yeah, I don't know how old he is. He just feels old, but I don't know if that's even accurate. Okay, Dre, let's talk some tournament builds here. Starting on FanDuel, you kind of went over some of your key thoughts already, but are there some names or some ideas here that you want to throw out?
I mean, I can't get burned by playing a guy like Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero, locking them in, but they're a lot cheaper than a guy like Giannis. And I think Jimmy and Tyler have ceilings for 50 point upside here on this slate. And if you can get two of those guys to give you like 50 points, and Giannis only gets like 60, 65. I know role points do matter, but if you construct your lineup appropriately, I don't know if that will kill you tonight. There's a couple other guys I do like here on this slate, though, a lot. I love Devin Booker without Ayton. He scored, I think, only one game under 28 points against any opponent with Ayton being out. So I think that's a healthy stat that you should consider when you're making your lineups tonight. Chris Paul also, his assists are up, his scoring is also up too, with that being in mind too, at 14, at no more less than 14 points. But it's hard to get those guys, especially with, like I said, with them being up. Chris Paul, I'm not sure if it's worth it. Maybe because of the stocks, it might be. But if you do, definitely run it back with a Clipper. But I don't know also how close that game will be. I do love this New Orleans game a lot. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be competitive. Lauri Markkanen, I think, is here to ball. Also, like take Lauri Markkanen on side note for a bet. Take Lauri Markkanen for 10 rebounds or plus. He's done it in 2 consecutive matchups against his team. I can see him doing it again tonight. He's just playing out of his mind this year, and at 8.1, I think that's still a good price, and he's not going to be owned enough because of his price point being where it is. So I like him a lot tonight as well. Chris Middleton also is another option that's going to be fairly popular, so I don't mind that as well. John Wall's too cheap, so yeah, I think we have to play him. Think that's probably like no other option really. Kelly Olynyk is someone that we can use as a mid-range play in a build. I think he's good. The Zubac news is important, very, very, very important at center, because if he is out, that'll create more value for us where we can get a guy like Moses Brown. So I think we really want to pay attention to that for sure. But I think the last time he was questionable, he did end up playing. So something I think we should just look at for sure. But Jonas Valanciunas is also a fantastic play today. I like him for over on his rebounds as well too. So yeah, whatever you decide to do, honestly, I just make sure you run it back. Like make mini game stacks or just a full-on game stack. I think that's the way to go tonight. And just hope that the best man maybe hopefully wins.
Okay, all right, yeah. Which I know you always root for everyone else to come second, which is very classy of you. All right, hey, real quick, by the way, that's the game plan on FanDuel. If you haven't signed up for the FanDuel Sportsbook in a legal sports betting state, you should do it. Take advantage of their bonus offer. It's exclusive to this week only. Bet $5, get $125 back in free bets. So make sure that you are making that happen. Let's kick it over to DK. Luuch, run me through it. I guess we're not in that much of a rush because NFL lock is 15 minutes after NBA. So we still, we don't have to get it all out right now. I think you're muted, bud.
Man, I'm so used to TJ cutting me off, so it's nice to have a host that knows what he's doing. Just kidding, TJ.
Brutal. Oh,
Funny,
TJ,
buddy.
killing you. And he's in the chat too.
I know. TJ's my guy, but we have some good banter. Yeah, the thing is on DraftKings, there's so many cheaper centers. Whether I talked about Orlando Robinson, Jock Landale and Biyombo are splitting time, so that's not really a situation I want to just try and guess what the minutes are, and I'm sure the projections will vary across the industry with the minutes there as well. Like the rate plays are similar on both sites. There's a little bit of a price difference with Jimmy Butler, but you're still targeting, the same players on the same teams. There's only 4 games, so I don't really have like completely different input to give you on cash for both sites tonight. Dre is kind of cut and dry who you should be playing tonight, right? Dre, is that for like the optimal type builds?
Yeah, for optimal type builds, definitely for sure. One guy I want to mention who will be low owned, Malik Beasley. You might want to consider playing him a lot. I would get over if I'm only playing like 5 lineups on Fanduel, 1 on DraftKings. I would get over the field on that.
Okay. Some folks like Tisha saying, hey, Hero is too expensive on DK. He's 45 for value. Are you guys, you're still both playing him on DK.
His ceiling probably is like 55, 60. I would say, yeah, probably 55. So I'm or 56.
Yeah, and is there a certain level where raw points are starting to come into the equation as well, Luke?
Let me look at DK because I have it up right now. Giannis is 12-12. You have to consider everything. Pricing matters a lot. Like 12-12 for Giannis is expensive. Like he has to have minimum like 4 fantasy points just to hit value. So and that might be enough on a small slate like tonight, which is fine, but you're allocating a lot of salary, but then you have to make sure that those cheap players you're playing are going to play up to the standards that you want them to and exceed their value. I personally rather take my chances playing more of a balanced build where I know players are going to get their value. They have a low floor. They have a high floor, and then they have a high ceiling as well. That's the way I look at slates like this, and that's the way I would try to build, while a lot of people will try to go with stars and scrubs, which is fine.
Yeah. In my extensive DFS experience and with my many, many victories, actually, I've only won like twice, like an actual tournament twice. And 95% of the time I do stars and scrubs because it's fun for me. I enjoy it. That's what I do. The only times I've ever won was going balance builds. I know that works, but it's so hard for me to not go stars and scrubs. It's a mental hurdle, but I know it's the right choice, and I'm going to be better about it. Okay, a few questions here. If it's cash, Luuch, I'm coming to you. If it's GPP, Dre, I'm coming to you. And then I still want to talk some football in, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes or so. FanDuel cash question, Luuch, 3v3 for you. Green, D-Rob, Landale, or Carter, Rocco, Joval. Is this multiple sports? No. Whew, okay, that scared me for a second.
Man, FanDuel. Let me see here. I think I'm a little hesitant to play Rocco and cash. But also I'm not in love with Javon Carter's 49 on FanDuel, I believe. Let me check. And he's 43 on DraftKings. That was another one where the prices are a bit different here. So let me just pull that up if you don't mind.
Well, Rocco and Carter were on the same side of that equation. So if you don't like that one.
That's true, but also I don't know if I want to play Duncan Robinson in tournaments either.
Gotcha.
So I guess I'm gonna. I think I do like the Robinson combo better by a nose, but I don't really love him, if that makes any sense.
Okay, fair enough. Luke says, "Hey, hang in there, Roth." I'll think I'm good. It's just I got a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old, and it's just crazy, but we're good. Hey, can we play Paul in a DK GPP? Dre?
I think so. Let me look at this price real quick again. Because I was looking on Covington right now. 3K is excellent price. 8-2 on both sites. You can, if you do play Chris Paul, you got to run it back with somebody because then you need him to hit value.
Yeah. Okay. Mike says, and I'm going to kind of tie these together here. These are GPP questions, but GPP game theory on FanDuel. Is it okay to not play one of Freak or Jaw, or maybe fade them completely? I feel like the answer is yes.
Yeah, I'm doing that. Definitely.
Yeah, right. And then the follow-up question was, why is Ja Morant so low owned on FanDuel?
It's expensive. There's a lot of guard value. I like another free bet. Javon Carter, 6. I know it's over 3.5 is his prop. He's getting 6. He's getting 6 assists tonight. So get at least minimum 6 assists on him.
Wow. Okay. So you're looking for like the alt lines.
Yeah, I like the alt line on that one, but I like Javon Carter in this spot. He's only not hit that prop twice when Drew Holiday's been out. Okay. But Javon Carter at 4.9, and I get the price is a little high, and Middleton is back, but we don't know how many minutes Middleton's going to be playing. And he just got hurt. Did he get hurt like the last game? I believe, if I'm correct, that he actually did play and went out the game, and then he played back. Came back, played 28 minutes. I still think Carter's a good play today. He might he's 4.9 on this slate. He can get you enough fantasy points where it's valuable and serviceable.
Okay, very good.
Can I switch hats for just a second? I really like Ja for tournaments because, like Dre said, there's a ton of value at guard. But you can flip your build by just playing Ja, and you're easily getting fairly unique on a 4-gamer without going crazy. So you can still play some of the right plays with Ja. Drew Holiday being out is a big deal. Basketball Reference says that when Drew Holiday is off the court this year, opponents' offensive ratings are about 3.5 points better. Ja's averaging still like 55 DK points per 36 without Desmond Bane this year. So just because it's old news that Desmond Bane is still out doesn't mean that Ja still doesn't have 60-point upside. So I like him a lot tonight for tournaments. Not a cash play. You want to go with the guard value and cash, but Dre pretty much nailed it about Ja being expensive and coming in pretty low.
Okay, very good. FanDuel cash question, Luuch. Would you keep Jalen Green or use the extra $200 to go up to KPJ?
That's a tough one, but I'm pro Jalen Green. I'm a big Jalen Green fan. Not that I don't like Kevin Porter, but I feel like Jalen Green is a little more alpha with the ball in his hands, so that's where I'm leaning.
Okay, very good. DK Cash, right back at you here. Mark and Middleton or Zion and Strus? Oh, he means Markkanen. I was like, who the hell is that? Markkanen and Middleton or Zion and Strus?
My boy Mark Cannon. I like Markkanen. I like the Markkanen combo. I do.
That is such a callback, man. That is so good. I forgot all about Mark Cannon. That is wonderful. All right, FanDuel Cash, another cash question here. Take a few more questions, and then I want to talk some football because I don't just want to do this all day. FanDuel Cash, Şengün and Jay Carter or Valanciunas and Conley?
The second one is safer.
Okay. Luuch, this is right up your alley here. You get to show off RotoGrinders tools, or at least brag about them. In a situation like tonight with Ayton out, do you go back to when Ayton was out previously to see who started for him and who did well in that situation? And if so, what source do you use for that?
You can, but Londale was on San Antonio, and now he plays kind of a prominent role of the second unit, so he's going to be splitting time with Biyombo, and that wasn't the case last year. RotoGrinders Court IQ, fantastic tool. You can easily toggle guys on and off the court. You can toggle sample sizes, customize it. You can go 4 weeks, 2 seasons, a full year. Of course, sometimes you have to take data with a grain of salt, but RotoGrinders Court IQ is awesome, especially if you're looking for player props and guys in good spots. I know Dre uses that religiously, just like I do.
Very good. Okay, I was setting you up. I was hoping you were gonna. I was throwing up the alley-oop, and I was hoping you throw it down. Good work. Okay, 2 more questions, and then football talk. FanDuel Cash 2v2. Joval and Strus or Şengün and Allen?
That's tough. I like Joval enough tonight that's for cash. He's my preference. That combo, the Joval combo.
I love a dude who can just legit get me 20-20, and Joval is that dude. Like, he just sometimes does that, and it makes me very happy.
I love Şengün for tournaments every slate though, because he always comes in kind of low, but he's super volatile.
Yeah. D-Rock, DKGPP. Last question before we talk some foosball. Okay, it's a 1v1v1. Daniels, Marshall, or Pat C?
Cash or tournament?
This is a GPP question on DK. Daniels, Marshall, or Pat C?
Ooh, that's tough.
Oh my gosh. Probably Connaughton.
Okay.
I think Connaughton's the right play.
All right, very good. Okay. Let's talk. Here's what we caught up on all of the Discord questions. Got a few more in the YouTube. Apparently, the Yankees got some guy. I don't know.
Who do we get?
You're saying Carlos Rodon's a Yankee, Dre.
Let's go. Well, hopefully he's good.
He better be good. He probably made like $200 million.
Yeah, right.
I never thought about that. Yeah, let's just hope he's so. Pat Connaughton is so cheap, but oh my gosh.
See, Dre singularly focused. I approve of this. Let's talk some football here. Luuch, did you make any football lineups? Like, what is it? You got the Showdown slate tonight?
I have one hand build. So that's it for me tonight. Sometimes I go back and forth between multi-entering, and I just had so much on my plate today. But it's an interesting little NFC West game we have here for sure.
Okay. Well, do you care to kind of give us a general breakdown? And Dre, can I ask, did you do any Showdown or no? You were sticking to some NBA?
I'm sticking to NBA right now. I'm trying to actually find a good lineup that I like, but just
that's fair. You finish up that lineup. We Luuch and I will talk a little bit of football, and then we'll bounce out of here in a few minutes.
Cool.
Luuch, apparently this game is good. I thought both of these teams were not good, but apparently I'm wrong.
We're gonna find out if Seattle's good, and San Fran has been more than competent even without Garoppolo. So. Here's a couple of stands I'm interested in. Kenneth Walker's been practicing in full, which is fine. That 49ers run defense is legit, though, so I'm not really interested in Kenneth Walker tonight. McCaffrey is the absolute quote-unquote right play at captain. He's been a monster. Seattle's not good against the run and not very good against the pass either. Brock Purdy, cool name, playing pretty well. He is dinged up. I still don't mind him in this matchup against Seattle. Geno Smith, I'm just so torn on how I feel about Seattle as a whole. Their schedule was so cupcaked the entire year. Geno's played like 3 quote-unquote decent defenses and was pretty bad in 2 of them. And he was terrible against San Fran earlier this year. And I know historical events don't always repeat themselves, but I just don't know about Seattle. If this game was in San Fran, I would be full aboard the 49ers train. I think this game's a little bit more competitive, but I think Seattle's going to be one-dimensional. I don't think they're going to be able to run the football, in my opinion. The Blitz had Geno Smith projected for about 35 pass attempts, which is a really high number. And it's all about opportunity typically, but it doesn't mean he's going to complete those passes. So as much as I'm always on board with the opportunity, I'm having a hard time grasping how Seattle's really going to move the ball in this game tonight. That being said, I do think you need either Lockett or Metcalf in your lineups. Anyway, drop us some questions.
And I assume you need Geno, right?
I mean, I don't know if you need Geno. I don't know. First of all, if you're playing McCaffrey at captain, there's no really, really good cheap value on this slate. A lot of people are playing McLeod, or even Kyle Juszczyk is priced up to $3K, and he's usually touchdown or bust. But there's really no 3-digit price guy that on most slates we can at least punt and hope for 3.5 to 4 points or something like that. So it definitely makes it a little bit uncomfortable fitting a last piece in. And Geno is pretty expensive to pair with McCaffrey tonight, Roth.
So you're going a no QB build?
No, I'm going to play Purdy. I have Purdy as a flex.
Okay.
Yep. Sometimes I also forget he exists because I never thought we'd be talking about a guy named Brock Purdy in week 15.
Okay. All right. Okay. So you got McCaffrey in your captain spot?
I do. And, he catches so many passes. I don't mind playing Purdy with him. And, $1,500 difference between him and Geno. I'm seeing a lot of Seattle touting and the sharp play is Seattle. And I can't get on board with it. And if I die on the 49ers mountain tonight, I'm willing to take that L. It is a short week for San Fran. Purdy is dinged up. They don't have Debo. Like, I totally understand all of that. We're really going to find out what Seattle's made of tonight in a game that they really need. So I get the desperation factor there as well. But, it's not like the 49ers aren't trying to win this football game either. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Metcalf had a birthday yesterday. Can we have a post-birthday narrative?
Yeah. So that kind of makes me think if, you got to go McCaffrey, it's his birthday. He wants to party. There we go. We got memes in the chat, by the way, in the Discord, answering the question that we answered about with 8 now. What do you do? He says you got to go to the Court IQ tool. We're all over that.
Yes, sir.
But
what's crazy? Tyler Lockett has scored a touchdown in 6 straight games. It just seems a little unsustainable, right?
Wow.
That's just crazy. Metcalf's volume has also been pretty damn good. So, I don't know. We're gonna get a 7th straight Tyler Lockett touchdown. I don't know.
6 straight. I did not. That's like the quietest 6 straight touchdowns I've ever seen. I didn't even know that was happening. So, and then again, I don't follow NFL, so that could have something to do with it. Okay. Well, guess what? Guess what we've done here? We've gone over some hoops. We've gone over some hoops. We've gone over some b-ball. If we get a few questions here, like immediately, we'll take them. Like Derek says, Fant or Gould? Are those both kickers?
Fant's a tight end. Gould is a kicker. And they are generally priced. Hold on, let me bring up lineup HQ real quick. So Gould's 4K, Fant's 44. Man, that is just that is tough.
So DK.
Yeah.
I probably will lean more towards Robbie Gould because I think the 49ers will find a way. Like, Shanahan's is a good enough coach where he'll get his team down to the field goal range to kick field goals. I like that San Francisco's defense a lot. That defense is just really, really good. So they shut down like Tom Brady, even though Tom Brady is old and not the same Tom Brady, but those receivers weren't getting open either, weren't doing that great of a job. So that defense is elite in my opinion. I think that we have to give credit where that's due and go with, I think, Gould on that one.
I think I'm with you because like Seattle plays 3 tight ends now. So Parkinson and Will Dissly are cutting into some, not only routes at the tight end position, but into some snaps into Fant. And Fant is super talented. I wish he didn't just disappear this season. So I'm with you. I think I'd go Robbie Gould if I had to pick one. Okay,
very good, guys. Let's see. Hey, I think, here we go. Big Fact says Elijah Moore or Lazard.
We're getting into some season long or DFS. Let's think. Lazard plays Monday night. Man, I'm going Elijah Moore against Detroit. I think the Jets put up some points this week. I'm also starting Mike White in 2 of my season long leagues, so maybe I'm a little biased.
Okay. Okay, excellent. Hey, guess what? With that, I think we are going to get on out of here. So for Luuch, for Dre, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.